Good morning. Pardon Board is called to order. Today is Monday, September 9th, 2024. The time is 9:01 a.m. Can we get a roll call, please?
Cheryl Russell,
Here.
Pete Freeman,
Here.
Carolyn Stapleton,
Here.
Chuck Tillis,
Here.
Steve Prayer.
Here.
Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. We'll do our regular business first, review and approval of the minutes from Monday, August 5th, 2024, which are included in your packet. Are there any corrections?
Madam Chairman, I saw no corrections and I make a motion that we accept the minutes.
Okay, is there a second? Second. So we have a motion by Mr. Freeman, second by Mrs. Stapleton to approve the minutes from Monday, August 5th, 2024. Is there any objection? Okay, hearing none, the minutes are approved. Thank you. Our next agenda item is consideration of the applications for clemency and pardon, and we will be ready for our first case. The record and tell us your name and your current mailing address.
Thomas J. PLUSKAT Jr., 5917 on Rhode Island, Indiana.
And what's your zip, sir?
70767.
Okay, thank you. And you have with you Mrs. Shelby Pluskett? Yes. And you've indicated you'd like to speak. We'll call on you at the appropriate time. I believe you're represented by counsel. Has he joined us yet? Mr. DeQuilla?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you introduce yourself for the record, sir?
Yes, ma'am. May it please the court side, please the board side, Aquila, I represent Mr. Thomas Pluskat in this matter.
Okay, thank you. And we'll ask you to close it out for us at the end, if that's okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So, Mr. Pluskett, first I'll read some information into the record, ask you to confirm it, and then we'd like for you to tell us why you believe we ought to vote favorably for you today. We'll hear from, we'll ask you some questions, we'll hear from your wife, and then we'll turn it over to Mr. DeQuilla to close it out for us. Okay. So, Mr. Pluskat, you're classified as a second felony offender. We have your DOC number as 118129. You're here today seeking a pardon with restoration of firearms. You were sentenced in the 19th Judicial District, East Baton Rouge Parish, on various dates. We have a 1983 DWI where you did receive 90 days parish prison, 1 year active supervised probation, 1995, also a DWI, 5 years, 1 year parish prison, 6 months was suspended, and 90 days active supervised probation. Then we have a 1987 conviction, which you received 5 years DOC time, all but 6 months were suspended, and you were placed on 5 years active supervised probation. Is all that information correct, sir? Okay. All right. Would you tell us why you believe we ought to vote favorably for you today?
Well, I believe that on my last conviction, part of the vote probation was attending Alcoholics Anonymous. And I've been recommended to that program a couple of times before, but I think due to age, lack of vision, I didn't see the big picture. So last time it did work. Still a member of the Alcoholics Anonymous. I've been 33 years sober. I managed to have a successful career with Exxon Mobil Corporation. Retired with over 20 years service there. So it seems like I'm kind of one of y'all's successful.
Okay, all right. Ms. Plunkett, is there anything you'd like us to know before we start our questions?
I was just gonna say, my husband talked about being in AA, he's not only been in AA, but he's been on the board, probably been there for 30 years, 33 years he's been sober. We met in the program, after we had worked steps, and, he's been on the board there, he works bingo for, for AA, we did for, solely bingo for a year, we're the only ones that did it. Not only works, but when we got married, my family very normal. Black sheep. And they just said, well, he treats me like a lady. And we didn't have children, but we have dads. And he's treated like a son. And so part of AA is becoming a productive member of society. And my husband is way more than that. He's a productive member of society, worked, retired, and it made part of our.
All right, well, thank you. We appreciate you being here. Mr. Pluskett, your case is assigned to Mr. Tillis. He'll take the lead on the question. Could you answer any he may have?
How are you doing this morning?
Fine, thank you.
Tell me about the gun, the discharging of the gun while you were intoxicated.
Well, I guess the short answer would be, it seemed like the thing to do with the time. Being intoxicated, naturally, your judgment is severely impaired. I've got no explanation for it.
Were you shooting at somebody or
Up in
just
the air.
up in the air?
Yeah.
Just letting off a little steam? Yeah. How old were you when that happened?
Well, I guess that was 1995, was it? So let's see, 85 now. Would have been in my mid-20s.
That's good. That's good. Why do you feel you'd like to have a gun now?
I used to hunt, and I've got access to several hunting cabins, friends of mine. I would like to go back to doing that. I still fish, but I couldn't take fish.
I see. You like to hunt? Do you think you need to hunt, or do you really need a gun? We got so many guns now. Just carrying a gun.
I guess I don't need a motorcycle because I enjoy doing that too. Based on that.
I have no questions.
All right. Any other questions by my colleagues?
I just want to congratulate you.
Thank you.
In life, unless you live under a rock, you don't have a family member that suffers from whether it be alcoholism or drug abuse. And we pray every night to the good Lord that they get delivered from that. And so when it happens, it's a praise the Lord moment. So I want to congratulate both of you. And then I read you were a machinist, correct? My dad was a machinist. So that really is, it was a dying profession. So that now they had to bring back guys that could actually do the work instead of just turn the things on a computer, and they realized that they needed the individual with the brain. So I like that. And I like the fact that you've been clean and sober for 30-something years, and say that you'd like a passport to travel, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Everybody wants to travel once they retire, don't they?
Yeah, I tried to go to Canada a number of years ago.
Yeah.
And they'll sell you a passport, but
Yeah.
they won't tell you it's any good.
That's right.
So I get the canter done. I spent about 9 hours at the border getting to talk to those people. Yeah.
Well, I wish y'all every happiness. That's all I
All
gotta
right,
say.
thank you. Mr. DeQuilla, we'd like to hear from you, sir. You're on mute, I believe.
How about now?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. Yes, ma'am. First, I'd like to thank the board for giving us an opportunity to come before. I know Mr. Pluskat is extremely grateful for this opportunity. I'm 44 years old. Back when Mr. Pluskat committed these crimes, I was 5 years old. Okay. That seems like a very long time ago to me. I've been practicing law for 17 years and doing criminal defense work for that time period. And I've dealt with individuals that have had substance abuse problems. We all know that from the mid 80s till now, our court system has gone a long way with trying to get people help, get them clean and get them on the right step forward. And I think for Mr. Pluskat to do that when there was no drug court, when there were no programs available for people, and for him to maintain his sobriety for this long of a period of time and to help others. He's still involved in AA. Couldn't really hear him too good if he told you all that, but he's still involved in AA. He still goes to meetings. He still sponsors people. So in my opinion, Mr. Pluskat is a success story in what our judicial system strives to look for and strives to go forward. I did some dumb things in my past. Granted, I was never arrested for it. Probably been quite a few times I should have been arrested for some of the things that I did, but I wasn't. Unfortunately for Mr. Pluskat, he was. And as we know, obviously, all these previous convictions that he has for those DWIs can't be used if he fell off the wagon and got DWIs in the future. Obviously, it's been more than 10 years. And I think for Mr. Pluskat, for working at Exxon, retiring at Exxon, I mean, we know Exxon's a pretty big corporation and they don't put up with too much BS, for a lack of a better term, for their employees. I think this man has done an excellent job in showing us that he is sober. He's going to maintain sobriety. He hadn't committed any other crimes. He's retired. Man just wants an opportunity to travel, go out of country, and even hunt. So we respectfully request that y'all consider giving him a pardon on these crimes.
All right, thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right, Mr. Pluskat, I think that the board is prepared to vote, and Mr. Tiller voting first.
I want to commend you also. You've done a great job and you've stayed sober and you've done some good things. My vote today is going to be without restoration of firearms.
Mr. Prater,
Grant with restoration of firearm.
Mr. Freeman,
I would vote to grant with restoration of power.
Mrs. Stapleton,
I vote to grant with the restoration of firearms.
and I do also, Mr. Pluskat, commend you for both of you for the good work that you've done. My vote today would be to recommend a pardon with restoration of firearms. So you've received a unanimous favorable vote with 4 votes to make the recommendation that your firearm rights be restored. And we'll make that recommendation to the governor on your behalf. Good luck.
Thanks, Lord.
Thank you, Mr. DeQuilla.
Yes, ma'am. Thank y'all.
All right, we're ready for our next case. Mr. Guidry, good morning. Good. Could you introduce yourself, sir? Tell us your name and your current mailing address.
KASEY GUIDRY, my current mailing address is 2191 Chapel Avenue,
What's your zip code?
and no problem said.
All right, Mr. Guidry, you can see who we are. I won't introduce each of us to you. But I'm sure it's been explained. I'm going to read some identifying information into the record. Then we'll ask you why you think we should vote favorably for you today. And then your case has been assigned to Mr. Freeman. He'll take the lead on the interview questions. Okay. So KASEY Guidry, we have your DOC number as 494750. You're here today seeking a pardon with restoration of firearms. You were sentenced in April 2005 in the 16th Judicial District, St. Martin. You received a 5-year probation sentence for possession of Schedule II methamphetamine. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Would you tell us, sir, why you think we ought to vote favorably for you?
Well, the last, so during after I was on probation, I still used drugs while I was on probation. I've been clean since February 16, 2010. And that, since then, I've been, go to AA meetings and I speak to people with addiction and with alcoholism, tell my story. I'm a normal member of society now. You know, I have kids, I have grandkids. The reason I have a job that I've been going down, for a while now. I'm kind of nervous. All my life, my dad brought me money. And some time now I haven't been able, my dad's been bringing my kids home because I haven't been able to, I both hunt, but I don't get a gun. And I would like to do that with my grandkids. This has been over 20 years since happening. And it mean the world to me and my family. Because I'm a totally different person than I was 20 years ago. And I've been waiting a while for
Yeah. Well, we're glad to see you today, and I want to acknowledge you have. Is this your wife with you?
this one.
Your girl, Wendy.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming. All right, Mr. Freeman. we'll turn it over to you.
All right, Mr. Guidry, so you went to, what treatment center was the one that helped you so much? Fountain of Life? And how long treatment,
It was 6 months, but I ended up staying, so I rented a house right down the road and I found a job. I did a geographical, so I'm from Road Ridge, but I moved away. And rented a house and I got a job at Ferrera Bar Apparatus. And I continued going there and speaking to people 5 years after I got out. So,
and according to your investigation, you still go back every now and then and speak. And do you do motivational speaking? Did I see that?
But that's not the only place I go to. I'm connected in Lafayette and I speak at the art, picture, memory center, various places.
And I also see that really your rap sheet, other than this conviction, you had one simple battery on a police officer and resisting an officer in 1988. I think they paid a bond. That's what it says. Now, the other charge it said was entered in error.
Yeah. That was in 88.
1988,
I was 8 years old.
Shreveport.
No, sir. It's wrong.
Okay.
I would have been only 8 years old.
Oh, well, that would have been kind of tough. Well, they got their own rap sheet, did, okay. Uh. Okay, and you work at production hookup?
Yes, sir. No pipe work.
Okay, how long you been working there?
8 years.
And what's the approximate pay?
$32.
Okay, so you're making a good living. Y'all settled there? That's where you're gonna stay?
Yes, sir. It's 14 minutes to my house. I worked at Turner Industries
Uh-huh.
in Port Allen for 8 years. And then I decided to move back. I have a job opportunity, same pay, closer, a lot closer.
All right, like I say, you have plenty of community service, Parcillo Retreat,
You still?
you still do that?
Still, yes, sir. I love God, go to church every Sunday. I think he's the reason I'm here today, you know.
Yet you unopposed was the sheriff and the chief. And other than that, like I said, you had a lot of traffic violations, but nothing major. And State Representative Michael Duval, I don't know if he's still a state rep, but yeah, he's in favor of you getting out also. Okay, I have no further questions.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? I had one. If you'd explain to us, what is the Parcillo Retreat?
It's a Catholic men's retreat. You can only do it once in your life, and it's something you have to be asked to do. It teaches you more like how to be father and a good husband, whatever, wife. I mean, it's men and women. And the meaning of mass, it's life changing.
So but did I see where you've been doing that for a number of years? 2015?
8 years ago.
Oh, so only once.
You can only
Only do it
once.
once. Okay.
I'll do one check. I had that down
Okay.
too.
All right, thank you. I don't have any other questions. Anybody else?
I had just a statement. I do see where in 2011, the court dismissed the prosecution and set the conviction aside and the case was expunged. Court, yeah, that's in your write-up here. So I thought that was very good. And I'm like everybody else. I love to see a success story.
Yes.
Addiction is a hard thing, a very hard thing. It's a hard thing on the individual, very hard thing on the family and the loved one. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
One question,
Yes, sir.
delayed incendiary device. What is that?
Okay, so when I was a kid, when I was younger, I seen a guy. He put toilet bowl cleaner in a plastic bottle. And you put a piece of aluminum foil in there, and it expands and goes up. It wasn't, I guess that's what they maybe that's a bomb, but it really was. I mean, I don't think it could hurt anyone, just decide making a bunch of noise.
How come you get charged with it though? Did
Good question.
somebody report you or something?
Yes, sir. Yeah. We did it at a car wash, but the guy, I was with someone that did it. And I think I was the only one that got charged with it.
Okay, that's 20 years ago, so I'm just curious what that was. Was it just a kind of a prank deal? Or?
Yes, sir. I
Okay.
was young.
Let's not do that.
Yeah. All right, that's all. I never heard anybody get charged with it. It was a law, but you don't have to use it.
All right, I think that the board's prepared to vote. Mr. Freeman?
Okay, Mr. Guidry, and I also wanted to note you finished the impact program, huh? So it says back in no charges, 14-year cleansing. Oh, I had a question. Did you complete the impact program?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I did that. Okay, well, my vote today, I'm a little nervous. Your cleansing period isn't what we consider real long. Your sobriety has been 14 years, which is something you need to be congratulated on. I'm gonna take a chance today. I'm gonna grant with restoration of powers.
Mrs. Stapleton?
I agree. I grant with restoration of arms. Congratulations for you too.
Mr. Tillis?
Grant without restoration of firearm.
Okay, Mr. Prater?
Grant with restoration.
And, Mr. Guidry, I want to congratulate you too. My vote today is to make the recommendation, pardon with restoration of firearms. So on your behalf, we're going to make that recommendation. Good luck to you. Good luck. Thank you, sir. Oh, there we go. We're on. All right. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and your current mailing address, please, sir.
RANDOLF JOHNSON. That number is 191 West Bay Street. Okay. So,
Okay.
just.
Okay. And we're gonna need you to speak up just a tad so we can be sure you're recorded well. The microphone's on the other side of this. So I'm sure he's explained to you the process. I'll read some identifying information, ask you to confirm it. Then we'll like for you to tell us why you think we ought to vote favorably for you today. We'll hear from, I think your son Carter would like to speak on your behalf. We'll call on him at the appropriate time. And then Mr. Prater's been assigned your case, so he'll take the lead on the interview questions. Okay? All right, so Mr. Johnson, your DOC number is 509945. You're here this morning seeking a pardon with restoration of firearms. You were sentenced in May 2006 in the 10th Judicial District, Natchitoches Parish, for possession with intent to distribute Schedule II cocaine, and you received a 5-year probation sentence. Is that correct?
Yes.
Why don't you tell us, sir, why you think we ought to vote favorably for you this morning?
I like to think that learn from my mistakes. And you can see raise the young men, trying to guide them in the right direction. Also, the work that we took the victim, I'm sure anybody would want to look out for their family. So, actually lost one of the supporters earlier on this year. He was supposed to be here. This is my father. He was one of the main guys. And then you need to, things you need to do. He was my motivator. Yeah, I'm hoping that you guys be, I'm trying to be really guys like that. I don't want to do anything that's beyond the law, so hoping this lady goes out.
And I see, let me just acknowledge your supporters here this morning. You have your fiance, Shiloh Robertson.
Yes, ma'am.
Amari Johnson. We acknowledge Carter's going to speak in a moment, and Christian Robertson. So thank y'all for being here today. All right, Mr. Johnson, would you, first let's hear from Carter. Carter, do you want to step up to the podium and tell us what you'd like us to know? Go ahead, sir.
One of your volume is, I think it's on the steps. Yeah, he's a good father. He teaches us, right from wrong, from his mistakes, you can tell them lives, actually following his path on a different pathway. And he even sped me in the right direction to join the Navy. So I'm doing everything we can. That's how I think it's. So I know he's learned from his mistakes because he's taught us not to do the same thing. He's practical babies since I was baby. So I know he's a loving, caring, good father. So
Thanks for being here this morning. Thanks for signing up with the Navy. I appreciate that.
thank you.
Yeah, glad to have you here. Thank you. Mr. Johnson, would you answer Mr. Prater's questions, please?
Hello, Mr. Johnson. I know it's tough on you. I saw you wiping your tears. I know it's tough on you when you had your kids out there and they're here because of a mistake you made. And we've all been there, but not quite as serious. So my heart goes out to you for that. And I'm glad that your kids are here to see that you have learned and you're admitting a mistake, because that's important to learn. But enough preaching like that. I got a couple of hard questions for you, okay? Because it's one thing, the pardon is not that big of a deal, because it's a big deal, but it's not as hard for us to recommend as it is restoration of firearms, because then that takes a lot on us. And so that's where I'm kind of headed with my questions here. Okay, enough talking. Of course, you took a plea bargain and you had a gun with you when you were stopped originally. So that's kind of perks our ears up when we talk about giving guns. So you had a gun when you're involved in criminal activity, which kind of bothers me a little bit. But okay, in 2008, you were arrested in Texas for possession of CDS, but your brother took the fall. Is that correct?
Well, he was that was my older, yeah, and actually, what happened was when they put us over inside the building, and it wasn't on anybody, so they took us over, but he actually to, his charge.
Okay, so in 2006 is when your traffic stop was,
Correct.
and so you're on parole or probation? You're on probation at the time that you get picked up in 2008.
Yes.
And even though it wasn't, you and up, the charges were dismissed,
Mhm.
you never told probation and parole that you had been arrested.
I wasn't aware, like, I didn't know, like,
Okay,
if I was aware to those were the guidelines to do, I
you just didn't know to tell them you were on probation, you didn't know to tell
I
them.
didn't. What?
Okay, and then in 2014,
Mhm.
the aggravated assault of a family member, which was eventually dismissed and expunged.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
So I went to pick up, I also have a daughter. I went to pick up my daughter. At this time, her mother actually let me in the apartment. She told me I could come pick her up. I said to her, she asked me about some things that were dealing with her. I said that because I was with her. And things went for bad. She started asking me personal questions, and I started stating that was absolutely her business. No violence or anything that transpired. She wound up telling me, well, you can't take our daughter. I wound up leaving. I didn't know anything was wrong. Maybe 4 months later, I'm at work and I get some visit from the police. So I'm like, what's going on? They say, well, she claimed you assaulted her. You have a firearm, which I didn't. She started sending like, they ordered us to stay away from each other. We started sending like Facebook, requests from me for money. Hey, you don't do this, I'm gonna tell this type of thing. And I was like, they were like she was doing this malicious, trying to get me sucked away because whatever we had, we had a bid. So what I did was, I gave it to the DA. I showed them, hey, look, I'm trying to be as honest as I can. This never happened. She's admitting to what's going on in these letters, and once they found out, they was like, oh, wait a minute. I'm gonna get this going out. Like, that's what happened.
Okay. All right. I'm prepared.
Any other questions? Mr. Prater, we'll take your vote then.
I'd like to have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I heard you say earlier, you introduced yourself, the reason why you wanted to carry a firearm.
Mhm.
Why would you want to carry?
We don't live in a bad neighborhood or anything, but I had asked my kids to go to regular school, which I took them out of school to homeschool for one of the kids actually alleged that he was going to harm him. I can't really protect him like I would want to because of this, without me really like getting in trouble. Also, at the beginning of the year, I've been off and on with trying to get in trouble. I know sometimes I would probably have to carry large amounts of cash or maybe checks and things like that, and I just really want to be able to protect myself from any kind of way. I'm getting ready to launch I've been off and on with this maybe since 2017, maybe. I have a small company that hauling service. I actually drive trucks. So I'm just trying to start that back at the beginning of the year for hot shot.
I see. I'm just, thank you.
And I just wanted to note for the record, there's no opposition from any law enforcement.
Thank you. Mr. Prater, ready to vote?
Yes, ma'am. Brenda, I believe that you're entitled to the pardon. I just can't, in good faith, do the restoration of firearms. I'm gonna vote for the pardon without restoration.
Mr. Freeman?
I concur, firearm, it's, these days, there's just so much violence and stuff, we can't take that chance, even though I see you're a great father and you're doing super, but this will give you your pardon. So, but I grant to, pardon without restoration.
Mrs. Stapleton?
I agree with my board members.
Mr. Tillis?
My vote is grant without firearm.
I also concur, Mr. Johnson. My vote would be to make the recommendation of pardon, but without restoration of firearms at this time. So that is the recommendation we're going to make to the governor on your behalf. Good luck to you, sir. Thank y'all for being here today. All right, good morning. You're on mute still.
Okay, how about
Okay,
that?
you got it, yes. Good morning,
Okay,
sir.
thank you.
Would you
Good morning.
would you introduce yourself, tell us your name and current mailing address, sir?
My name is Darren Svan. My current mailing address is a personal mailbox out of Denver, Colorado, but I live in Idaho.
So what is your physical address? Where do you live? I want that address.
It's 1420 Daisy Street,
That's it?
Sandpoint, Idaho.
What's your zip?
I don't know my zip. I'm sorry. Let me look that up in just a second.
Yeah, the one I had was an air base in Germany. That's how old your application is, I suppose.
Yes, I worked for the military for about 20 years, and I lived in Germany, and I had a military mailing box. So that was a previous one. Sorry, I'm in the home I'm in now is temporary. I'm getting ready to move to something permanent, so I don't know the zip code.
Okay, we'll find it. Thank you, sir. So, Mr. Savan, is that how you say it? Savan? Savan?
Yes, ma'am. Svan.
Svan, okay. You're here today seeking a pardon with restoration of firearms. You were sentenced in 1989 in the 26th Judicial District in Louisiana, Bossier Parish, for Schedule 2 stimulants. Your sentence was 6 years hard labor with a recommendation for the impact program. Is that right? Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Mr. Savan, your case this morning has been assigned to Mr. Freeman, seated to my right. He'll be taking the lead on the interview questions, but first we'd like to hear from you, sir. Why do you think we should vote favorably for you today?
Well, that's a long, circuitous journey. Since I was released in 95 actually it was in 1990, from Impact, I've done nothing but being an upstanding citizen. I've finished 3 different degrees. I've taught in public schools. I've worked for the government. I have 2 small businesses I run in Louisiana. I've never been close to a law enforcement officer since 1989. Don't have any speeding tickets. Have a credit score of 800. I've done nothing but proven myself to be exactly the opposite of what happened to me in 1989.
All right. Well, thank you, sir. Mr. Freeman?
Okay, first off, you said you could plead the impact program. What is that program? How did that affect your life at that time?
I think Impact was probably the best thing that's happened to me in my life. Without it, I'm not sure exactly what would have happened to me. You know, as an 18 and 19-year-old, I was without a father and a broken home, and pretty much the cliches, all that that young people are suffering. So Impact and the military the military regimen and structure really helped me a lot. And it just opened my eyes and provided me exactly what I needed. I graduated the training of the cycle that year way back, and I received a lot of encouragement from the officers. They could see that I was really trying hard, and so I'm thankful that I got a chance to go through the program as hard as it was, because it was pretty brutal back in those days. I'm grateful that happened to me. Otherwise, I don't know exactly what I would have done.
Were you using drugs or you just sold them back at that time?
No, I was a user of alcohol and drugs since probably after high school. In high school, my grades were pretty bad, but athletics kept me in school. But I really didn't do any drugs until after high school. I just became just didn't know what I was going to do and just turned to that. And there was a lot of that going on in Shreveport Bossier in those years in the late 80s. So I think the selling of that was just a byproduct of my using. I really wasn't, like going and trafficking in a major way. In fact, I was in a nightclub and I handed 2 ecstasy pills to an undercover cop, and not to mitigate what would happen. It did happen, and and I was guilty of that, but I was more in the party scene than anything else.
And what do you do now? Where are you working right now?
I'm the public affairs officer for a school district, so I handle all their public affairs issues. I do their writing, and sometimes I'm on the radio. But basically, I support the superintendent, make sure that her communication is done the way she wants, and I deal with the media and make sure that their interviews are set up, and I write as well.
Okay. And you've had no speeding tickets, nothing since last year? Okay.
No, it's been.
I'm on the right rap sheet now. I see you had a little incident before that with a simple battery on a police officer resisting arrest.
Yeah, I guess I was probably a little bit younger than that, and highly intoxicated, and didn't want to be arrested. Yes, and was at a party.
How did you shake your alcohol usage and your drug usage? What did you go to?
No, I think mostly just a change of focus. My life has really been committed to nutrition and exercise, and I attained my black belt and I've competed at nationals, and I think I just changed the focus of my life. And it just, more than that, I just was determined and persevered and just decided that I was going to do I guess I decided I was better than, when you show up at the correctional center and the way you're treated and everything you go through. I realized, this isn't who I am. And so I set on a path to find out who I am. And that involved not being in drugs and alcohol and that type of thing any longer.
Well, that's pretty good. Usually it takes a little help to shake it, but you did it on your own.
I did.
I just want to congratulate you on all of your degrees and your success. I mean, you've been, 12 years with this school district?
No, I'll try to keep it short because I know you guys have a long day. I went overseas and I worked for the Air Force for about 20 years. And during that time, I became a teacher, and I taught for the Department of Defense, and I was teaching middle school English for 12 years.
Right.
And then I came back to the States about 2 years ago, and I went to work for a nonprofit. And I was writing about education for them for the last 2 years, and then I met the school district, and I decided to go to work for them. So I just started this summer with this new job, and hopefully it'll be the last one I do before I decide to retire. I'll probably be here about another 5 years. But I started coming back to Louisiana about 20 years ago, and started doing my business there. And so I own real estate there, and I had 2 small businesses that I run there, and I still do that as well. And so I come back. I have a home there as well. So I come back quite often, 2 to 3 times per year. And even when I was overseas, I would fly back often to do, to work on different projects.
Okay. I have no further questions.
Any other questions?
Yeah. Why do you feel that you need a firearm?
Well, I own property in Louisiana near Ruston, and I have acreage there. I have a lot of acreage. And I would like to be able to hunt. I haven't been able to hunt since I was very young, since I was 18, 17, and I'm looking forward to that. I think that's the primary reason, is I would like to come back and hunt.
All right, thank you. All right, I think the board is prepared to vote. Mr. Freeman.
As I stated previously, I congratulate you on everything you've done since you had that period. I'm glad to hear that you went through the impact program. I was a probation officer back when that was around, and we used to pop up at y'all house all times of the night and drug test you and breath test you. So you obviously did good under supervision. So my vote today would be to grant with restorations of power.
Mrs. Stapleton.
And I concur with Mr. Freeman, and congratulations, sir.
Mr.
Thank you.
Tillis.
My vote is to grant without restoration of firearms.
Mr. Prater?
Grant with restoration.
All right, Mr. Savan, my vote today is to make the recommendation for a pardon with restoration of firearms. So on your behalf, we'll make that recommendation to Governor Landry. Good luck to you and congratulations, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Have a nice day.
All right, good morning. The pardon board is reconvening. We are now at Louisiana State Penitentiary. Today is Monday, September 9th, 2024. It is 10:10 a.m. Would the staff at the penitentiary please introduce yourself for the record?
I am Wanda Allstark.
Would the
I'm sorry, the audio was mute. This is Rochelle Ambo, the deputy warden, and I also have Reginald Lamberot, the classification officer, here with me.
All right, thank you, Warden Ambo. We are ready for our first case, Mr. Jackie Washington.
Okay, Mr. Lamberot is getting him.
Okay, thank you.
We thought DCI was going in front of us.
Yeah, they had some technical issues, so we moved you up on the list.
Okay.
Get at the table, Jack. In the black chair. Y'all start behind him.
Go all the way behind on the first floor. No, you gotta go this come in the front.
First row, first.
So we'll do 4 in the front and then do the rest go behind him.
Yeah.
So you gotta go down, sir, all the way to the end. Yeah. Oh, wait, no. She coming around here with mama. Where you going?
All right, everybody, okay. Good morning, Mr. Washington.
Good morning, ma'am.
Could you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and DOC number.
Jackie Lewis Washington, DLC number 107015.
All right, yes, sir. Let me acknowledge the folks you have there with you at Angola. Shirley Washington, your mother, Wilbert Washington, your father, Francis Casborn, a friend, Winnie Washington, your brother, Amanda Washington, your sister-in-law, and Alika Washington, your niece. Here with us in Baton Rouge, we're at DOC headquarters. We have Sandra Lloyd, your cousin, who's here also in support. I have noted here, your mother, your brother, and your sister-in-law will be speaking on your behalf, and at the appropriate time, we'll call on them to do so. Okay, first I'm going to read some identifying information into the record, and then we'll get started. Mr. Washington, your DOC number, as you stated, is 107015. You're classified as a third felony offender. You were sentenced 1984 for simple burglary. You received a 2-year sentence. You have a July 1984 also theft, 2-year sentence. And then we have, those are in Iberville Parish. And then in East Baton Rouge, you have a February 1988 aggravated kidnapping conviction for which you received a life sentence. Before we get started, I also want to acknowledge that we have a representative from the DA's office, Ms. Barbera, in East Baton Rouge Parish, and she'll be making some comments as well. Before we start our interview process, Mr. Washington, we'd like for you to take a moment and tell us why you believe we ought to vote favorably for you today.
Well, after I've been incarcerated for 38 years, ma'am, my life has changed dramatically. I'm not the same person that I was back then. Took a lot of classes to help change my life, and I realized what I'd done was totally wrong. And I have a lot of family support that supports me and wants to see me get out, and I can't thank them enough. And like I say, I am wrong for what I've done. I shouldn't even be here to be saying this here, because there's no way I can even ever explain to why I did what I did, because it was wrong. I take full responsibility, and if I was to get out, if you was to vote for me, I will do everything I can to help other people not do what I've done, change their lives, not to go down the road that I did.
Thank you, sir. We'd like to hear from the folks who want to speak on your behalf. In that we allow a total of 10 minutes. So we'll split that time up between your three speakers. And first, we'd like to hear from your mother, Miss Shirley.
You can sit right there. They can hear you.
Yes, take your mask off. My name is Shirley Washington. I am the mother of Jackie Lewis Washington. I have 4 children. I retired from East Baton Rouge Parish School Board. And I spent the first 28 years with Jackie. And based on those 28 years that I had him at home, he was a model child. Never had any problems, never had a harsh word. I never saw him disrespect any elders, which I trained him like that. I had 3 boys and they all came up the same way. And I've prayed for 37 years for this day. And I pray that you all see fit and have mercy upon his soul, that he would be able to come home. And I prayed for this, that he would walk through those doors a free man once again while I live. We are, well, you know, I'm 78 years old and his dad is 80. We don't have a lot of time left in this world. And I would like to see him come home to spend these last few years that I have. If that many, I just pray that he would be released. He's always been a good child. I never had any problems with him. Not to another person, another older person, unlike the children that they got in the streets now. They have no respect for their elders. But my children, they came up respecting their elders and respecting any other person. I've never seen them give a harsh word to anybody. And I pray that you will see fit to let him come home these last few years that we have.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for being there today. Could we hear now from Mr. Lenny Washington?
How you doing?
Good, thank you.
Well, I've been coming up here to see my brother. Well, not 37 years, but close to 35 years. You know, back and forth to this prison. And what they telling me, what was going on with him back then, you know, I never realized, figured, what happened to my brother, you know. And the last time I seen my brother, I was maybe 8, 9 years old. And so now, me coming up here all this time, these many years to see my brother, you know, behind these bars. And I just hoping, the Lord knows, hoping to let him come home, why he still could. And I hope y'all, consider, looking into that again, maybe let him come back home.
Sure, thank you. And Ms. Amanda Washington?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Washington. I'm Jackie's sister-in-law. The last time I saw him, I was pregnant with his first niece. My daughter was born 4 months later, and the only time she's ever seen her uncle has been here behind bars. I myself, being his sister-in-law, has never known of him to ever have a harsh word for anybody. I've always seen him helping people. I've always seen him doing good for others. And I believe he's still that type of person. I believe he's still the kind of person that if he sees someone in need of help of any kind, that he's willing to help. I don't know what it will take for you all to see him like we see him. But if you would just take and have mercy on the fact that he has learned from his mistakes and now he's trying to correct the error of his ways. I just believe that if given a second chance, that he can do this. Because I just feel like God is a God of another chance. And for him to have a second chance at proving he's capable of living a normal life and staying free is the best way for him to do it. So I'm just asking for you all to just take into consideration that he deserves to be happy just like any of us.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We appreciate your remarks. Before we start our interview, Warden Ambo, is there anything you'd like us to know about Mr. Washington?
Yes, Mr. Washington is a minimum aid trustee. He's assigned to Easy 4 and works as a groundkeeper. He has a total of 52 DB reports. The last report was September 16 of 2004 for 30W. He has victim awareness and victim awareness letter training, 100 hours of substance abuse. 100 hours pre-release, substance abuse and anger management. His tiger is low.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Green?
Okay, I was assigned the case, Mr. Washington, so I'm just gonna ask you a few questions. Okay, how long had you been out there waiting when the victim showed up?
It wasn't very long, maybe 30 minutes.
Okay, and how often had you gone to this same spot?
That was my first time.
Did you return to that spot later?
Maybe a week.
Weren't you arrested in the exact same spot that you picked up the girl?
Yes, sir.
Any particular reason you went back to that spot? You're looking for another victim?
No, sir, I wasn't looking for another victim. I was riding. I hadn't stopped anywhere.
You had any drug, alcohol problems when you were younger?
No, sir.
You ever did drugs, alcohol?
No, sir.
I seen you had a juvenile record. What was that about?
I think I had when I was working at a store somewhere, I had a burglary charge. I don't remember the full detail of it, but that's the only thing I can
Yeah, it was
think
a simple burglary.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you had two periods of supervision with adult probation, and both of them were revoked. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Were you on supervision when this crime happened?
Yes, sir.
And how long had you been out?
I
That happened.
I think about 3 months.
Where you gonna live at? Where you gonna work?
I'm gonna live with my mom and dad, and I'm gonna work with my brother doing lawn service.
All right, I see you have strong opposition from DA Tracy of Barbara and East Baton Rouge, Tony Clayton in West Baton Rouge, Sheriff Brett Stassi and Major Morris. They're both also are opposed, and the chief is opposed. Why you haven't taken too many classes? You only got 4 classes. Yeah, long time.
Well, I just completed Thinking for a Change 2 weeks ago, so we wouldn't show up in my record, but I just got through completing.
I got it down.
Because the class had got shut down.
I got it. I found it too, Mr. Freeman.
Yeah, I have it in my packet. Thank you, Ward. Why did you not take those sex offender classes? I mean, that's major.
Well, they tell me I didn't need it. I went to classification and to find out every class that I needed, and they told me I didn't need this particular class.
All right.
To answer your question, why I haven't taken a lot of the other classes, I came down with cancer, and I had been doing a lot of cancer treatment. So I wasn't in the prison to actually do the classes.
And sorry to hear that. How's the cancer? It's in remission now?
Well, I'm still waiting on the results from the second time I had it.
All right. I have no further questions.
Mr. Washington, did you specifically request to be enrolled in the sex offender class?
No, ma'am.
And your crime involved a rape, didn't it? Aggravated rape?
Yes, ma'am.
Why didn't you ask to take the sex offender class?
Because once again, I asked the classification about it, and they told me I wasn't charged with that, convicted of it, so I didn't need the class.
Right, but did you ask to be enrolled in it? You
No,
said you
ma'am.
not. Okay. And you also took, I see where you completed a victim awareness class in last year in 2023.
Yes, ma'am.
What did you learn from that?
Well, I learned not only that I had one victim, but I had multiple victims, and I didn't realize this. I thought I just had one, but I didn't realize that I affected her whole family and people that's for her friends and all the other people too. I didn't realize this at the time while I've been incarcerated, that I had so many other victims. So,
Right.
And
what impact do you believe your actions had on your victim?
well, too much. It devastated her, and each time I think about what I had done and how it affected her, it takes my breath away that I'd done such a thing to this person.
All right, what kind of community service work do you do there at the prison?
Well, kind of help a lot of other people. I do hobby craft, so I help other people to learn how to do it in a proper way. And anytime it needs volunteers to go on cutting grass on Beeline or different other places, I'm one of the first people to ready to go. So.
All right, I don't have any other questions. Any other questions?
I just have a statement from the 18th Judicial District Attorney's Office. They advised that they were opposed to the offender's request for commutation, and the 19th Judicial District Attorney's Office is opposed. And the 18th said they deferred prosecution of the aggravated rape. That's why you're not billed and charged with it, because it was a victim's consent, because it was too hard for the victim. I can tell you why, because it's too hard for the victim after we live the trauma and what happened to him, solely based upon the fact that this offender was convicted in our jurisdiction and sentenced to life. We strongly believe this offender has not served sufficient time to even be considered for commutation. We also believe he is a danger to public safety. But that was their statement.
Mr. Till?
Yeah, how old were you when you were incarcerated?
I was 23.
23, and the crime occurred at 23?
Yes, sir.
And you served how many years there?
October makes 38 years.
38 years. That's a long time. What's your educational background?
Well, I graduated from high school.
Very nice to you, and your mother said she reared you pretty good. You made some mistakes.
Yes, sir.
And you tried to take as many classes as you could that you were aware of to better yourself.
Yes, sir.
When's the last time you had a write-up?
2016.
2016. What was it for? You remember?
Trying to, homosexual activity, that's the only thing I can think of, a 30W. I had a friend, yeah, I had a friend that's a homosexual, and somebody wrote a letter, and that's all I know about it. I never got a chance to read it. So.
Okay. So have you learned a lot in those 38 years you've been there?
I learned plenty, sir, you know, and like I say, I'm ashamed of all the stuff that I had done to get myself here, but I have been trying to better myself and be a better person to not only people on the street, but the security here and other inmates. You know, I think I'm aware, respected person, and I have learned a lot, you know.
Good, good. I hope you continue trying to better yourself. I have no further.
Yeah, Warden Ambo, can you shed some light on that 2016 write-up?
Yes, ma'am. That's what I'm looking for now. Yeah, okay, they say on the above date and time, offender Jackie Washington is being placed in administrative segregation pending investigation for homosexual activity. And let me see, did I find the investigation? After concluding investigation, I, Lieutenant Chad Uber, have the following information. After speaking with offender Reinhardt in Washington, both offenders admit to me that they were both involved in a homosexual relationship with each other. Therefore, in my opinion, and due to the nature of this investigation, both offenders should be separated and listed as enemies.
Okay, and that was a 30W?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. All right, is the panel prepared to vote?
Oh, we got Tracy.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Barbera, we'd like to hear from the DA's office.
Good morning. Thank you, Chairman Renata. Tracy Barbera for the 19th Judicial District Attorney's Office. I believe the record of this case speaks for itself. I also think that Jackie Washington speaks for himself in that he will not acknowledge that he is a sex offender. That is why he has not requested to take the sex offender treatment while incarcerated. He, as we just learned, he still cannot control his sexual urges while incarcerated. And on September 1st of 2022, when he signed this request for clemency consideration, he signed a notarized document, and in his own handwriting, he wrote, "I asked her to have sex with me." You don't ask a woman to have sex with you at gunpoint. You force a woman to have sex with you at gunpoint. And I know acceptance of responsibility for what the individual has done plays a major role in your decision-making process. And I would submit to you this morning that we can set aside how long he's been in jail and the facts of what he did. The fact that he will not acknowledge that he raped her, I think is sufficient in and of itself to deny his request for clemency. And I would respectfully ask that you do so this morning. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Freeman.
Okay, my vote is to deny. He needs sex offender treatment. You need to take it. You have a bad criminal history and a bad supervisor history. Virginia.
Mrs. Stapleton.
I agree with Mr. Freeman, and when I was reading the report, the thing that I noticed that he did ask for was that she kiss him. And so she gave him a peck on the cheek, and you told her that that was not enough. That's the only thing that I found that you asked your victim for. So my vote is no.
Mr. Tillis.
My vote is to grant.
To commute to what? To commute a sentence.
Commuted sentence, I'm sorry.
99.
99, yes. I apologize.
Mr. Prater.
Denied.
All right, Mr. Washington, the sex offender treatment is very important to me. That's why I asked you the questions I asked. I cannot make a favorable recommendation on your behalf without that in your back pocket. So my vote today also is to deny your application. And hopefully you'll ask these folks there at the penitentiary to get you enrolled in our class. I think you need to learn some things from it. So today you've received one favorable vote but you've received 4 votes to deny your application for commutation of sentence. So today, your application has been denied, sir. Good luck to you.
All right, thank you.
Girl, look at his people.
Are they showing now on?
Yes.
Show him. Yeah, Taylor, see him, tell me, look at his feet.
Good morning. Mr. Rhodes, would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and DOC number, please.
Michael Rose, DOC number 364469.
Sir, let me acknowledge the folks who are with you today. You have, is Warden Delaney there? I don't see him. Oh, he's on Zoom. Warden Delaney is on Zoom. We have Tiffany Forney, your friend who's there with you, Angie Rhodes, Mary Wilson, Helen Manning, Dorothy Cato, Douglas Jackson, and LaQuinda Jackson. I also see Mr. Gary Myers with the Parole Project. I don't have him on my list. I guess he'll be speaking. Here in opposition, joining us by Zoom, we also have Patricia Mack, Wanda Allstork, and LaQuana McKendon, all who want to speak, and at the appropriate time, we'll call on them to do so. Mr. Rhodes, first I'll read some identifying information into the record, and then we'll get started after you verify that information. Mr. Rhodes, you're classified as a first felony offender, currently serving a life sentence, having been sentenced in Bienville Parish, April 3rd, 1996, for a second-degree murder conviction. Is that information correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Rhodes, first, before we start our interview process, we'd like for you to take a moment and tell us why you believe we should vote favorably for you today.
Well, first of all, I'd like to start by saying that I'm sorry for the pain and suffering that I caused the McClendon family. And I'm not the same person that I was then. And I rehabilitated myself and did the things that I need to do to be successful in society.
All right, sir. We'd like to hear from the folks who want to speak on your behalf. Is Warden Delaney on the line with us? Y'all have him?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
All right, good morning, sir. Would you tell us what you'd like us to know about Michael Rhodes?
Okay, well, you know, so I started my career in 1993 at Angola, and I worked in various camps all over the farm throughout the years that I worked there. And on several different occasions, I had Mike that lived under me in the camp that I lived in. Okay. As far as I know, disciplinary wise, always been very respectful. Never was any problems with anything. On many times, even when he didn't live in the camp that I was assigned to, I took him, you know, to LSU and different places to work on different projects for lengthy periods of time. He went to town with me just about, you know, several different times. Worked on a lot of community-based projects. Every year we used to go to St. Francisville and put the livestock pens together for the 4-H students at school and what have you. He always volunteered and just helped out, you know, anytime that he possibly could.
All right, well, we thank you for taking the time to give us your remarks this morning. We appreciate it. Miss Tiffany Forney, you want to tell us what you'd like us to know?
Good morning. I'm an investigative journalist who was introduced to Michael more than 12 years ago after a childhood friend of his asked me to look into his case. And so sometime later, I began penning his case and story. But since that time, I've come to know Michael as someone other than an offender, but instead as someone who made a horrific mistake at a young age. Today, he continues to take responsibility and show great remorse for the actions that led him here to the Louisiana State Penitentiary nearly 30 years ago. Michael Rhodes is no longer just the subject of my writings. He has become my friend, one who has offered an authentic encouragement and inspiration to others, including myself, from one of the most unlikely places, prison. Today, I also speak on behalf of his family who's seated here with me, including his mother, Angie, who remains his strongest element of support in transforming Michael into a man of maturity. Fortunately,
he has been positively reshaped by a combination of Christ and prison. George W. Bush once said, quote, "America is the land of the second chance. And when the gates of prison open, the path ahead should lead to a better life." We know that the human potential of transformation is significant. Many have witnessed the progress Michael has made and continues to make toward his reformed character and his genuine commitment to becoming a contributing member of society. Michael has a strong support system of family and friends, all prepared to assist him in getting reacquainted and acclimated with the free world. Together, we will equip him with the tools needed to successfully complete his transition into freedom. Therefore, it is our great hope that the board will grant Michael a favorable recommendation toward immediate release. Thank you.
Yeah. And thanks for speaking on behalf of the family. Mr. Myers, we'd like to hear from the Parole Project.
Good morning and thank you. We're here to support Michael in his petition for clemency today because we also believe in Michael's rehabilitation. He has participated, not just participated, but actively learned from the programming that he's taken. He participates in AANA because alcohol did have a role in his offense. He was 21 years old at the time of the offense. And while he was not a juvenile, and that's not how you should consider this case, we understand. We also know that the brain science, that a 21-year-old is not the mature person that he is today. And so he made a fateful decision that day. But he has worked extremely hard while he's been incarcerated to overcome those things. He can't undo his actions, but he can only work on himself. And we believe that he has done that. We're prepared to offer him, should this board grant him and he eventually gets released, to offer him the programming and the support through our organization. He will get the full complement. We'll help him through at 30 years to almost 30 years today of incarceration, and even more through this process should he get this opportunity. We know exactly the types of transitional obstacles he'll face, and we'll be able to help him overcome them. So we just ask this board to consider the work that he has done, the support systems that he does have, and grant his petition today.
We appreciate your input. At this time, we'll hear from the opposition. First, we'd like to hear from Ms. Patricia Mack.
Yes, my name is Patricia Mack.
Right, what would you like us to know?
Well, yes, I would like to know that I don't think he should be released from prison when bring my brother back.
Yes, ma'am. So, thank you.
Yes.
Miss Wanda Alstork.
Yes, ma'am.
What would you like us to know?
Well, I heard all the good things that everybody spoke on him, but you never know what's inside of a person's head until they are released. And he took our brother away from us. He took our brother away from his kids. He never got a chance to see his grandkids or anything. I think he should stay in prison.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Laquana McKendon.
Yes, ma'am. The action of Mr. Rhodes have greatly affected the lives of our family. Mr. Rhodes took a life that he did not give. I forgive Mr. Rhodes deep down in my heart, but I am asking the parole not to grant him his pardon at this time.
Thank you, Ms. McKendon. We appreciate your remarks. Warden Ambo, before we start our interview, is there anything you'd like us to know?
Yes, ma'am. I would like to let you know that Michael Rhodes is the minimum aid trustee and he works as a groundkeeper, but he also does a lot of the woodcraft work here. He donates his time, for numerous hobbycraft to give to charitable events. During the COVID crisis, he was one of the inmates that helped with the COVID crisis. He has a kind, polite, and respectable behavior, and he's hardworking and trustworthy. He follows the rules. Offender Rose has an impeccable disciplinary history and has been in the offender population since he arrived at LSP in 1996. Mr. Rose has been a model prisoner and has shown great disciplinary and respect to the penitentiary system. So I feel that Mr. Rose is ready to be a successful individual on the outside and be able to be a tax-paying citizen. And I have Warden Oliver right here too. She would like to say something.
All right, Warden Oliver, welcome.
Good morning, how are y'all? So I knew of Michael Rhodes through my career at LSP, but I really didn't get to work with Michael Rhodes until probably like the past 3 years since I've been back. And I will say everything that Warden Ambo has said is a true statement. He does like to help the community. He's always asking at Christmas time, Miss Ashley, can we make a rocking chair? Can we do something for the kids? Is there some way I can help out? Is there a benefit for local families? You know, they hear things that go on in the community and he's always willing to help. I can tell that he has a strong family support, and I think he'll have that when he gets on the street, and that's just from interacting with them at the rodeos that we have. You know, I'll sit down, talk with him, talk to his family. So I think he has changed, and I think that he'll do good with the help of the parole project and his family support behind him.
Good to hear from you also this morning. All right, Mr. Rhodes, your case has been assigned to Mr. Tillis, so would you answer his questions, please?
Yes, ma'am. How you doing, sir?
All right, you've been in there about 30 years?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
I see you didn't take too many classes while you were there, but is there a reason for that? You just didn't have an opportunity to have them, or what?
For the classes?
Mr. Tillis.
Yes.
So, Michael Rhodes is considered a low-risk offender. So basically, all he had to do is 100 hours of release, 100 hours of pre-release, inside, out, dad, anger management, and substance abuse. And he took upon his own to do other classes, but he has his high school education. He graduated from high school, so therefore he didn't have any, he didn't have to take any other vocational skills.
Okay,
Michael spends much of his time helping others. And like Warden Delaney said, and Warden Oliver say, you know, he has work on the outside of the penitentiary, helping build different things, and also inside the penitentiary. So most of his work goes to a lot of charitable events. So the classes he took were the classes that he was mandated to take as a low-risk offender.
Okay, yeah, I read through the report, and thank you so much. You're very kind. Mike, is there anything else you want to say?
Well, like I said, I just wanted to acknowledge the McClendon family, you know, because I took something from them that I can't replace, you know, and I'm very sorry for that. And I understand how they feel, and I understand how my family feel, because so many people was affected by my poor decision. But I'm not the same man today that I was then. And I just asked the board to give me a chance.
Thank you so much. I have no further questions.
Any more questions?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. Michael, since I know firsthand, what did you do during the pandemic? Tell my fellow board members where were you during the pandemic?
I was in the heart of the pandemic. I risk my life every day to help other people's lives.
Warden Oliver, want to say something?
Is it okay if I explain exactly what he did during the pandemic from the headquarters perspective where I was working at? So during the pandemic, we centralized the offender population to come to Camp J at Angola. At that time, your employees, along with a select group of offenders, and they volunteered, went over there to care for these inmates that were brought in sick. So he literally had to move into Camp J, and he was there 24/7, caring for the sickest of the sick COVID patients at LSP. And did that without, I mean, even thinking twice, you know, he volunteered to do it. So I just wanted to explain that that's what he was involved in the pandemic. It wasn't just like he was in the dorm and people going to get isolated. No, he was caring for the sick. He was helping be the janitor, clean up after the sick, making sure everything was disinfected and everything went properly.
I just wanted to bring that up because I was out there too and I saw Michael. And I know all of the probation and parole officers respected him a lot for what he did, going into the cells with them and everything else the whole time the pandemic was going on. So that's all I have. Thank you.
I just have one question, Michael. I know you've had 30 years to think about what happened. And I know it's a long time ago, but why did you have a gun in the first place?
Well, like I said, back then, the way I was living, everywhere, everywhere we went, we carried guns. And like I said, we was at a nightclub and we had an altercation and it got heated. So I was standing by my car and they had a gun in the car and I got the gun out the car.
All right, that's all I got. Any other questions?
Yeah, he did.
All right, I think we are prepared to vote. Mr. Tillis will be voting first.
Mike, as I went through your case, I've seen that you've done a lot of good things. Pandemic wasn't a toy, and you know, a lot of people speaking very highly in your behalf. My vote today is to grant commutation with 99 years.
Mr. Prater?
My vote will be the same. Recommend to the governor that we grant commutation with a recommendation of 99 years to be considered. Am I saying that right?
Yes, correct.
Parole eligible immediately? Is that right? Okay, let me try that again. I recommend to the governor that grant your pardon with parole eligibility immediately.
Mr. Freeman?
My vote is the same, Michael. I thank you for what you've done for the prison. It was a horrific crime, and I feel for the family. I'm glad they showed up today. But my vote would be to grant commute to 99 years with immediate parole eligibility.
Mrs. Stapleton?
Mine is the same, commutation to 99 years, grant with immediate parole eligibility. And I commend you on all the service that you've done for the people that you're around.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Rhodes, my vote is the same for all the same reasons for the work that you've done. I do appreciate the McClendon family for being here today. And I'm so happy to hear that the word forgiveness was uttered by Laquana. But today we will make that recommendation on their behalf to Governor Landry. Their commutation soon. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
All right. Good morning, Mr. Pittman. Would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and DOC number.
ADRIAN Pittman, 520628.
Okay. Sir, and I want to acknowledge the folks who joined us by Zoom. We have your in opposition, we have representing the victim is Deborah Boyd, Terica Boyd, and Benjamin Hawkins. Mr. Pittman, I'm going to read some identifying information into the record, ask you to verify it, and then we'll get started with our process. So Adrian Pittman, as you said, DOC 520628, you're classified as a second felony offender. You're currently serving a 20-year sentence. You were sentenced in East Baton Rouge Parish, May of 2013 for a manslaughter conviction. You have a parole eligibility date, June 4th, 2027, but you have a good time date prior to that date. Your good time mandatory release date is March 11, 2026. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Before we start our interview process, Mr. Pittman, we'd like for you to tell us why do you think we should vote favorably for you today?
Well, because I have my years of being incarcerated, I had applied myself to every class. I don't have no disciplinary reports.
Okay, well, thank you. We appreciate hearing from you. Ward Ambrose, is there anything you can tell us?
Yes, as Michael said, Adrian said, he don't have any disciplinary reports. He's a minimum A trustee. He's assigned to the dog pen. He's also in Weldon School. He has completed the BMP program, which is the behavior management program. He did 12-step substance abuse, T4C, anger management, living in balance, 100 hours of pre-release, Inside Out Dad, Malachi Dad, Conquering Codependency. And he also got his Bachelor's of Art degree while he was here from Ashland University. Mr. Pittman works as a trustee at the dog pen. He is trusted up there. He's very much the cook up there. So he feeds the guys at the dog pen and also the guys that work up there at the dog pen. And he's trusted to take care of a lot of other things up there that other inmates are not trusted with. So Mr. Pittman is a changed individual. I do believe that he can go out into society and be a prosperous person and not commit another crime if given a chance.
Thank you. We'd like to hear from the opposition. Miss Boyd, could we hear from you, please? You're on mute. And are you in your car? Are you driving?
All right. I'm unmuted still?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Are you driving?
No, I'm not driving. I'm in the car, but I'm in the car, but I'm not driving. I'm in the park.
All right, we'd like to hear from you. What would you like us to know?
Well, I just never said, I guess I forgive him for it, for his part he played, I guess, and it's over with because my son can't come back anyway. So whatever y'all decide, it's all right with me.
Thank you, Mr. Boyd. We appreciate you taking the time to speak to us today. All right. Mr. Pittman, your case has been assigned to Mr. Prater. He'll take the lead on the interview. Please answer his questions.
Yes, sir. Mr. Pittman, how are you today?
I'm fine, sir.
Good, good. All right. You've got an extensive criminal history, and you have served how much time so far actually in jail?
Close to over, I think right at 14, a little bit over 14 years.
Okay, you got a 20-year sentence, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you served 14 years of it?
Yes, sir.
And your original charge was first degree and attempted first degree, and you pled down to manslaughter, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and from what I'm understanding, you're not admitting to pulling the trigger, but you're admitting to driving them there and picking them up from there, knowing they're going in there to kill somebody. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. That's all the questions I need. Thank you.
I have a question, Mr. Pittman. You already have an out date, a mandatory release date, March of 2026. What were you hoping? What is the relief you're seeking today specifically? What do you want?
Well, in I put in the clemency in 2020 at the beginning of the pandemic, and I was thinking that maybe that I can get an early release during that particular time, but that never happened.
Right.
So that
So
was the
what,
reason
so,
why.
so today, what are you seeking today?
Well, I was seeking to see if just a time cut, see if I can come home earlier than that date that's on paper.
Okay, so you're looking for a time cut. Okay. Any other questions? All right, I think we are prepared to vote. Mr. Pittman, Mr. Prater will be voting first.
Yes, I'm gonna vote to deny. You got such a early, I mean, you're gonna be getting out in no time. And you such a serious charge and all that, so my vote is to deny.
Mr. Freeman,
I concur. My vote is to deny. Not enough time served in criminal history.
Mrs. Stapleton,
Saying to deny based upon criminal history and not enough time served.
Mr. Tillis.
My vote is to grant. I think you've done a good job there while you're there. You have people speaking very highly of you. So my vote is to grant.
And commuter sentence.
And commuter sentence.
To. You have to, which one commuter to? You've got a 20-year sentence.
20 years. Let's go. Immediate release.
Okay. So Mr. Tillis's vote is to grant a commutation of sentence for an immediate release. And Mr. Pittman, my vote today is to deny your parole because I believe you have a relief mechanism. You have an outdated good time date in March of 2026. You entered a plea agreement. You agreed to the 20-year term. So that's my vote. So you've received one favorable vote, 4 votes though to deny based on the reasons that have been stated. So today, Mr. Pittman, your application for clemency has been denied. So I want to congratulate you on your excellent conduct record, and I do wish you well when you do release. Good luck. Thank you, sir.
Savannah, I need your help.
All right, good morning. The pardon board is reconvening. We're now at Dixon Correctional Institute. It's Monday, September 9th, 2024. It's 11:21 a.m. Good morning, Warden Allen. Would you and your staff please introduce yourself for the record?
Yes, ma'am. I'm Assistant Warden Jason Allen.
Donald Cavalier, Classification Manager.
Jamie Duvall, Mental Health. Alvin King, Reentry. That's everybody.
Okay, and we have before us Mr. I don't know how to pronounce your name. So would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and DOC number.
RAYFEL MATTA, 296-486.
All right, Mr. Mata. You are here seeking a commutation of your sentence. You were sentenced in January 2011 in Caddo Parish for first-degree robbery. You received a 25-year sentence without benefit of probation, parole, or suspension of sentence. You're not eligible for good time, but you do have your full term date is October 18, 2034. Is that information correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And let me acknowledge that we have your sister here, Ms. Monica Dixon Raymond. She's here to support. We'd like to hear from you, Mr. Mata. Why do you think we should vote favorably for you today?
Well, I accept the responsibility for what I've done. I've taken a lot of classes to rehabilitate myself, and I walk around the prison as a living example of how to live and survive in prison without a write-up. I've also taken the hospice course at Angola at LSP. I'm a certified hospice volunteer. And today, regardless of your decision, I'm glad you've given me this opportunity where I can apologize to Kay Harper, the bank teller at Regions Bank, and all the employees there. Thank you.
All right. Warden Allen, is there anything you can tell us about Mr. Mata?
Yes, ma'am. I think Mr. Mata's been a model inmate while he's been incarcerated. His disciplinary report is spotless. He has no disciplinary report. He's completed numerous classes, and also I looked back in his record, and while he was incarcerated in Texas, obtained his GED through the Texas Department of Corrections.
All right, thank you, sir. We appreciate that input. Before we move on to our interview, Mr. Mata, we're going to ask your sister, Miss Monica, what she'd like us to know. Go ahead, ma'am. You're on mute still. Can you unmute?
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All right. Go ahead, ma'am.
Hi, I am Rachel's older sister. It has been quite some time since we have been able to be reunited as a family. I live in the state of New York. During this time, we have experienced a lot of loss, as families do. What my hope would be that Ray could be released and be a part of his grandchildren's lives. He has a son. He lost his son while in prison, and they need their grandfather to be able to show them that life you can experience things in life, but you don't have to live that way. You know, his behavior that brought him here, I believe, has been corrected in the last more than a decade that he's been incarcerated. And my hope is that I'm on oxygen, I'm older, and I'd like to see him as a free man being I would say a productive citizen before I leave this world.
Well, thank you for joining us from New York this morning. We appreciate you speaking with us this morning.
Thank you for hearing me.
All right, Mr. Matta, your case has been assigned to Mrs. Stapleton. Would you answer her questions, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, good morning, Mr. Mata. I see that you're here before us asking for a commutation of sentence, and what is listed is that you're a third-class offender, but it's listed the first-degree robbery. But as I look at your criminal history, it extends far back and it's very violent. I do see all your programs. I want to acknowledge that you have done all those programs. But then, so starting in '83, you have an aggravated assault with a firearm. That was Southern University. Some of these things are, you got a suspended sentence or you put under supervision for probation. You didn't serve really jail time for them, but they were your crimes. And then in '84, an attempted simple burglary. And then in '86, illegal possession of stolen things. And then the one I want you to explain to me, in 1988, sexual battery, aggravated oral sexual battery of your 3-year-old daughter. And you were sentenced to 7 years hard labor, which was suspended, 5 years supervised probation. So tell me about that one. That's the first one I want to ask you about.
Yes, ma'am. That one was basically because of a divorce I was going through, and I was fighting for custody of my child. And even the judge and my lawyer was basically saying, look, if you put this 3-year-old child on the stand and she just started crying, she doesn't have to say a word, the jury's gonna find you guilty. That's why I didn't do any prison time, but that was the only way out. And they basically advised me to take a guilty plea. And later on, after I did he even gave me joint custody of the child. What judge would have done that if they'd really believed I'd done that? I have joint custody of my kids during that whole process and during that whole time of the probationary period. And then they turned around and gave me a pardon about it.
I wonder about that too, what judge would have done that. Okay, so the next one I've got is, looks like it's in 1999. So 10 years later, it was a domestic abuse 4th degree with intimidation and felony violation of a protected order, which is pretty serious, but some people don't take it serious at all. So explain that one. So we're back to another domestic violence situation.
That was in the state of Oregon. You cannot argue in front of a child. You can't, I mean, the same lady, the child called the police. The police came and told us we had a decision to make. In every state I've lived in, laws are different, and the judge advised me at that time, you need to learn the laws because you've lived all over the United States. So we argued in front of a child. She called me out of my name. I called her outside of hers. The 13-year-old child went upstairs and called the police. The police came and say, look, basically y'all got a decision to make. Which one of y'all going to jail? Well, I went to jail, and in the state of Oregon, they don't have bail bondsmen. I paid my own bond, and the same lady picked me up from the jail, and on our way home, we were stopped by the police officer. I was never served a restraining order while I was in jail. And that's when we found out about it, that the state had put the restraining order on me and didn't notify me when I was in jail at the time. And she picked me up and we were on our way home. They pulled us over and took me back to jail saying I violated a restraining order I never knew anything about.
Yeah, I know some states are take domestic violence pretty serious, and automatically you can't have contact with your victim. That's just an automatic thing. And the fact that the 13-year-old child called, we have the law, well, the enhanced penalty, which is child endangerment. But I can tell you this, most children don't call 911 unless they're scared themselves. So it's a good law to have. It's also a good law for the state to bring protective orders because a lot of times women do recant. So I wanted to ask you about that one. And then in 2000, unauthorized entry of an inhabited dwelling, simple criminal damage to property, resisting an officer. What was that about? That was in Baton Rouge.
That was my own house.
How did that happen?
3527 Oswego.
So
neighbors called the police. They had no idea it was me going into my own house.
Okay,
He's got there, yes, ma'am.
all right, got you. So that was accidental.
Yes.
There was nothing. Okay, so in 2000, issuing worthless checks. And I don't know, 3 counts of juvenile court. What was going on with that? Does that make sense to you?
Probably for about child support.
Child support, you didn't pay.
It had to have been, my child support is paid. I mean, it's paid up. And, I think when I went to jail a few times, they got behind and they called me in the child support court.
I see. Okay. What about the issuing of worthless checks? Was that not valid?
Ma'am, I mean, that was so long ago. I'm not gonna make anything up because I know you have it right there in front of you. I put the past behind me 16 years ago, and I really don't remember that. And I'm not gonna make anything up and say to you that, that's not true. So I really don't remember it. I don't recall it.
Maybe something talking about your drug issue, because in 2000, right behind that, 2 months later, you pled guilty to misdemeanor theft and were sentenced to 6 months in jail and was suspended and 2 months on supervised probation. So that, I think, again, that was 24 years ago. So do you think that was all going along with your drug problems, which led to your attempted robbery and where we are today?
Yes, ma'am. I mean, basically everything I've done was either trying to get drugs, any means and ways to use drugs. And all of that changed when I started taking responsibility for my life. And on this last charge I'm on now, I actually turned myself in because I had finally said enough was enough, and I stopped digging deeper holes for myself and changed my life. And as they tell you,
but I saw that, but you have to remember, like you apologized to the bank teller, but when something like that happens to a victim, a lot of times they don't recover and they're not able to put a traumatic event behind them, like a person, like you said, you moving forward. A victim may move forward and become a survivor, but they never forget the moment that happens to them. And then they're always fearful from that point on. So from a victim's point of view, you left a traumatized person that day. And I know you acknowledged it, but that's still not the same as walking in that person's shoes. So I just want to bring that out. So I don't have any more questions.
Any more questions? All right, I see no more questions. I think we are prepared to vote. Mrs. Stapleton?
I vote to deny based upon the extensive criminal history. Now you've denied every single thing that I brought up, but based upon that.
Mr. Tillis?
I'll vote as to grant commutation, 99 years.
Parole eligibility?
Parole eligibility immediately.
And Mr. Prater?
Let's see, let me look at something right quick. I'll vote to grant with parole eligibility in 5 years.
Mr. Freeman?
I agree, because that's my only solved problem is you hadn't served for 14 years of a 25-year sentence. So yeah, I think you need to do more, but I vote to grant CTO with parole eligibility after serving 35 years. 20 years.
All right. Mr. Mott, I want to commend you on your conduct record, and I'm impressed by the things that Gordon Allen has said about you. It is noted in the record that your victim, Ms. Harper, expressed no opinion about today's outcome. So based on that information, my vote also is to make a recommendation for a commutation of sentence after serving 20.
Thank you.
So you've received 1 vote that was not favorable, but you've received 3 votes to recommend a commutation of your sentence. So that is the recommendation we'll do if I have. Good luck to you.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. So
You
we'll,
have a good day.
you too. Thank you, Warden.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
business attention. Didn't show up. Oh, they didn't show up. All right, we have one more case on our docket today. That's Rosaline Smith, DOC number 629874. She was requesting a pardon with restoration of firearms for convictions in Lafayette Parish, possession of Schedule 2 methamphetamine, and possession of Schedule 4 Xanax. Ms. Smith did not show up today, so we will be voting. Mrs. Stapleton?
Okay, so I vote to deny because she didn't show up.
Mr. Tillis?
Denied.
Mr. Prater?
Deny.
Mr. Freeman?
Deny.
And I concur, my vote also is to deny because she failed to show up. We'll be in just a moment conducting some other business under our new business agenda item. Okay, our next agenda item is review and consideration of some proposed rule changes, and these rule changes were brought about as a result of the 2024, all of the 2024 legislative sessions. And Mr. Abbott will be here and is going to explain to us what the revisions are.
Yes, a new business, as the chairman mentioned, or a handful of policies that we have changed in response to the 2024 second extraordinary session and the regular session of 2024. So there were a number of changes. So our staff worked really hard getting that through the administrative, procedure, entered into the administrative code, and then also updating our policies. I know we uploaded those to y'all over the past week, so I hope you had a chance to review them. But in brief, policy 02209, hearings before the Board of Pardons. We removed the administrative review process, updated the written notice to 90 days. That was 30 days, I believe, prior to that, and then changed the number of years from 2 to 5 for an inmate who was released with an open application. It can apply 5 years from the date of release. Policy 03301, parole eligibility and types of parole. We updated some definitions that took out notification for medical parole and medical treatment furlough. Policy 05505, and that's just our general procedures to describe what recorded in the hearing meetings, what is recorded in the hearing and meeting minutes. We added the electronic voting to the vote section, and we updated rescinding board decisions and modification of board decisions. Board decisions to grant parole and is subject to modification, alternation, and rescission for any reason deemed appropriate or necessary by the Committee on Parole at any time prior to the inmate's release from custody on parole supervision. And added, no inmate has any right to parole release based upon any initial decision of the board before the inmate's actual release from custody on parole supervision. Policy 05507, dealing with business meetings. We updated some grammar, some technical issues, and in meetings, business meetings shall be audio recorded. Policy 05509, dealing with victim notification and participation in hearings. We updated the hearing notification to 90 days. That was put in statute. It was 60 days prior. We added the electronic communication, allowing us to email victim notification now. And then we removed a section out of there.
Excuse me, are you reading from this list, Francis? Because you're reading things I'm not reading.
This is a list, a little more details.
Oh,
A
okay.
little bit more detail.
Okay, yeah, you're
Yes.
reading things I'm not reading.
If more than so we removed section B3. If more than one person is entitled to appear for a parole hearing, the person chosen by all persons entitled to appear may serve as a spokesperson for all those entitled. And so that clears up and allows that for 3 people, total of 10 minutes. And of course, the chairman of the parole hearing of that day does have some discretion to alter that should there be multiple families involved.
Oh, so let me ask you something, because it does say 10 minutes cumulative. So if one person is going to speak instead of 3 at 3 minutes, then the one person can speak the total of 10 minutes because it's
Yes, ma'am.
cumulative?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's a good thing. I wanted to see that.
Yes, ma'am. Policy 05514, voting and votes required. That again, we changed everything dealing with parole to unanimous voting now. Policy 07701, dealing with parole decisions. And that deals with 30 months disciplinary board free. And the inmate is responsible for notifying the board whenever they're ready for a rehearing. Policy 07705, dealing with applications for rehearing and requests for reconsideration of decision. Again, updating the language surrounding the 36 months DB free. We added some rehearing intervals. So non-violent offenders can get a rehearing now, 1 year to reapply. This is a little bit tricky. It's a first offense, crime of violence that is not first degree murder, second degree murder, first degree rape, second degree rape, or third degree rape, or a crime against nature. And it should say first offense, crime of violence, or a sex offense. That is not those that I listed, can reapply after 3 years. Any other offenders outside of that, that are violent or sex offense, their rehearing reapplication will be 5 years. So if they're a second class felony offender and or their charges include any of those ones that I just listed, they'll have to wait 5 years to reapply after their initial denial. Inmate who's been denied multiple occasions must be scheduled for a rehearing no later than 10 years from the most recent denial, regardless of whether a written request has been submitted. That's something our staff will have to monitor internally, make sure that is being done. Parole violations will be considered in the context of the inmate's total history when considering re-parole. Then I'm talking about the DB removal process. Policy 11.1113 revocation hearings and processes. In lieu of revocations change from 9 months to 12-month time frame, TWP and substance abuse. And then policy 15.1501 suspension of supervised parole. We removed suspended parole supervision, and that was removed out of probation and parole policy 2023. So that covers all that was updated in our policy.
It's a question. I see that, you and I spoke about it and spoke about it before. Now it will not be just the victim that'll be notified. It will also be witnesses that are registered will be notified to be able to come and speak before our hearing.
If they are registered, we have always notified everybody who is registered.
Yes.
So if they are registered, yes, they will be notified.
Will they reach out to victims the same way they do to witnesses the same way they do victims? Because I know law enforcement consistently does not give victims the Louisiana Victim Notice and Registration Form to complete. A lot of DA's office does, but not so much law enforcement. So if they fall through the crack and y'all pick them up here at DOC, which you do frequently, and you see witness as compared to victim, will y'all notify them as aggressively as you do a victim, because they are the same by law?
If there is a need for a judge to notify those individuals and find those individuals to ensure that we are getting a whole view of the crime for our investigation, our staff, our victim assistance coordinators, and I'm sure PNP that are conducting the investigation,
yes,
will get them involved.
Good, because they have a dog in the fight.
And the only thing I have a question about, Francis.
Yes, sir.
Is that, so now you could rescind a vote until they release?
So, yes.
So I could change my mind all the way up to their release.
Tell me about that.
Yes, please. That's
That
what I'm
would be, okay, we've had some cases where we did rescind a parole decision.
Right.
This is not the individual vote.
Okay,
This is the decision.
that's what I was.
And so if he does anything, we have in our rules, we used to have certain situations where you could rescind a vote. And, there was one where it was necessary to rescind, but it didn't fall within that box. So the law was changed to allow it to happen all the way up to the time he's released, but it's the decision, not yours.
And then our ability and what reasons to rescind were expanded in the statute as well.
So that sounds like almost to rescind up to the point of release, that the decision is to not release. If it's up to the point of release, then it more applies to when you say, oh my goodness, we made a mistake, we're fixing to let this person out, now we don't want to.
No, it's generally if he has done something to
To
after
change
the
it.
decision.
To change it. Okay,
Like he got
gotcha.
a serious rule infraction.
Right.
Or something like that.
That would normally get.
And so another thing that may happen is, and you'll appreciate this, if all of a sudden a victim comes out of the blue that wasn't notified, whether it was we just couldn't locate them or
Right.
Wrong address.
wrong addresses, things of that nature. Sometimes it's very difficult. Our staff works very hard to find these people. But sometimes they'll pop up once a community hears, oh, this individual has had a hearing, now he's getting out. Now witness or victim comes out of the woodwork. And so the statute that changed has strengthened our ability to rescind that decision, but we would then have to schedule a new hearing.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. I do know that personally.
Any other question?
No further questions?
Great.
Okay, Madam Chairman, I move to adopt the policy revisions listed on the agenda in global as presented by Mr. Abbott.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Freeman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Prater. Is there any objection to the motion? Hearing none, those policies are adopted and will become effective September 20th when the rule promulgation process is complete. All right, thank you very much. We will adjourn at 11:52.